available to help me deal with this challenge? Think about it. How often do you feel, I'm going nowhere? I am all alone. My life is going nowhere. I don't know how I'm going to deal with the challenges that face me. And so that's where the disciples were at, physically. But many times we find ourselves in that same place, emotionally, relationally, spiritually. It feels desolate. And so we feel challenged. I don't know where to go. I don't know how to move forward. I don't know what to do. I'm alone. I'm scared. I feel helpless. So that's one of the challenges. Another challenge was time was running out. It was getting late. We see in Mark chapter 6, also verse 35, that it was late in the day. Jesus had been preaching all day. And now it was getting towards dark. They didn't have street lamps. They didn't have car lights. They didn't have flashlights. All right, more than 5,000 people. And how were they going to see to get home? Where were they going to go to get something to eat? It was late. We're stressed. We feel overwhelmed. There's just not enough time. There's too much facing me, and I don't have the time to deal with it. I'm busy. I'm on the run. There's too many things demanding my time. I can't deal with it. And so the disciples here were faced with that same kind of a crunch. Time is running out. Thirdly, this crowd was huge. The Bible tells us there were 5,000 men. In one of the Gospels, it says, not including the women and children. There could have easily been 10,000. Some people have projected more than 20,000 people were gathered here on this hillside. 20,000 people. Many scholars believe this is the largest gathering that Jesus ever hosted, even more than the Sermon on the Mount. That's your projection. It was a lot of people. There are times in our life where the numbers are just overwhelming, where the problem that we face seems so great, seems so huge, we don't even know where to begin to deal with this problem. This is so big. It is so overwhelming. It's so bigger than me. I don't know where to start. And so here were the disciples in that same situation. It's just too big. 5,000 people, 10,000, 20,000 people. We can't deal with this. And fourth, limited resources. Limited resources. There just wasn't enough. Not only was it an issue of quantity, it was also an issue of quality. The scriptures tell us these were barley loaves. Barley loaves were the poor people's food. Now, when we're talking loaves here, probably what is meant is something more like a medium-sized pancake. It was made of barley grain, and it was probably flat and about the size of a medium-sized pancake. 5 of them. And 2 small fish. Only the King James Version calls them small fish. But they couldn't have been too big. He's carrying them in a small container. So the resources were limited. How often do you and I feel like, I don't have the resources to meet this need? I don't have what it takes to meet this challenge. It's just not in me. I don't know where to go to find the help. When I was a teenager, like many of you, my love for Jesus was great. The gospel had hit me and consumed me, and I just couldn't get enough of God's word. And many of my friends said to me, Bryant, you should be a pastor. And this is what I would say to them: I'm not smart enough to be a pastor. I went to a church not far from here in Glenside, and the pastor of that church was Jack Miller. He was a professor at Westminster Seminary, had his PhD, humblest man you could find, extremely bright, wrote many books. His elders, the elders of the church that I attended as a high school student, I don't know if you've ever heard of Tim Keller, but he was an elder at that church. Okay, Tim Keller has his PhD. He has been a seminary professor. He's a world-famous teacher and preacher. He was an elder at that church. Dave Pallison, PhD psychologist, graduate from Harvard University. And on Ed Welsh. On and on. These were all people who were very, it right. And I looked at them and I said, I don't have that kind of brain power. There is no way that I can be a pastor if they're the example of what it takes. I get average grades. I get B's and C's. An occasional A, an occasional D. All right? I'm not the brightest guy in the block. And so for me, I decided I don't have the resources that it takes to do what in fact God was calling me to do. I come up short. It's not enough. How often do we come to that conclusion? It just isn't enough here. And that's what the disciples were saying. There is not enough food to feed this multitude. So here were 4 challenges that were serious. So let's look at the responses. What were the responses that we see in this story? Well, one of the first that we see, not in this account from John, but in the Matthew account, in Matthew chapter 14, the disciples said, let's send them away. Just too many, let's send them away. So let's try and put ourselves in the shoes or the sandals of the disciples for a moment, okay? Let's try and pretend that you and I are part of this disciple crew. All right, so there we are. We are Peter and Andrew and John and James, and we're the disciples. And we're standing around, and Jesus has been teaching all day. I mean, like you're concerned, will Pastor Bryant wrap up in half an hour? Or is he going to be here all day? I mean, Jesus is just going and going. He's doing like an 8-part series in one sitting. All right? Instead of 8 weeks, he's just doing it all at once. All right? So here's the disciples. They're like, man, does Jesus know it's getting late? I'm hungry, guys. I don't know about you, but I'm hungry. I want to eat. Yeah, Jesus, I'm hungry, so send him away. And then Jesus turns to you and he says, you feed them. I think I didn't hear you. There was some breeze blowing. Did you say for me to feed them? Yeah. So you go back to your committee, all right, you. And they're like, okay, what do you say? He's going to dismiss the crowd, going to send him home? And you go, you said you feed him. Well, what? He said that we're supposed to feed him. What is he talking? We can't feed him. Look, we've got a kid who's got 2 fish and 5 loaves. There's not enough money. Look, go back and tell Jesus we don't have enough. All right, so that's the other response. All right, there's not enough. So you're elected from the committee. You go back. Jesus, excuse me, guys. I just got to talk to him again for just a second. Look, all we found was a 1 sack lunch, 2 fish, 5 loaves. It's not enough. Jesus says, give it to me. So your committee comes and joins you. And Jesus takes these 2 fish and these 5 loaves and he thanks God. And then he breaks them and he gives them to you. He puts the broken pieces of bread in your hands. Now, he tells them to sit down in groups of 100, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 people. They're all grouped in these groups of 100 or 50. And now he says to you, go ahead, so you've got this biscuit in your hand. So you walk up to the first dude and you go, yeah, just take a little. Like, not so much. What are you doing? I said a little bit, buddy. Well, as you're going down the line, like, this thing in your hands is growing. You can take a little bit more. You want? Yeah, here, take some more. And before you know it, this thing in your hand has miraculously multiplied. And you're like, yo, man, I got more. You can get seconds. You can get thirds. Come on and take. But here's what I don't want you and I to miss. Jesus did not hand out the bread. He put it in your hands. He thanked God, broke it, and put it in your hands. That is so significant. You and I need to camp out there for just a moment. You see, the response of the disciples and our response is, send them away. How often do we want to deal with our problems in that way? Just get rid of it. Send it away. America has been plagued, as many other countries, by abortion. Send it away. Get rid of it. Can't deal with this problem. Too much. How often is that our solution? Look at the epidemic of divorce. Can't take this relationship anymore. Shutting it down. Walking away. I'm out of here. Get rid of it. You see, we're faced with problems, and so often our reaction is get rid of it. I don't want to deal with it. That's not how Jesus deals with it. Other times, we think that money can solve it. All right, Philip says, look, 200 denarii wouldn't be enough. 200 denarii was equal to about a year's wages back in those days. And he's saying, look, that's not even enough to give everyone a teeny bit of food. All right? How often do we think, in our mind, we think, if I had more money, my problems would go away. If I had more financial resources, then I wouldn't be in this fix. I just need more money. That's gonna solve my problem. And Jesus is not relying on money at all. And then there's that time issue. It's getting late. Jesus has been preaching all day. And for so many of us in this Western culture, time is such an issue. All right? Now, I don't know if my wife reflects the Asian culture in general, okay? But time is not much of an issue for her. So it is rare that we arrive on time. All right? You may have noticed it. She may have noticed that we were late this morning, okay? All right? You know, and I love my wife, and she helps me to get a little bit less as a slave to time. So I don't know. As I get to know you better, am I going to find that your time is sort of relative? It's like when we get there, But in most of Western culture, time is a huge issue. Time is money. And we find that pressure affects the way we deal with problems, affects the way we deal with crisis. And Jesus here, time is not an issue. So Jesus' response is, let's meet the need. Let's face this challenge and let's step forward and meet the need. And so he gives the food out. He breaks it and he puts it in all their hands. He makes you and I a part of the solution. He doesn't just say, stand aside and watch this. You're going to be amazed. He puts it in your hands, in my hands. And that's how Jesus deals with problems today in this world. He puts it in our hands so we can provide the solution. So I presented to you 4 challenges and 4 responses. And the only response that we see is valid is the one that Jesus gives us, let's meet the need. So how are we going to apply this? How does this fit into our everyday life? Where do you all as high school students apply this? Where do you all as people who are parents, who are job workers, employees, where does all this fit in? How do we carry this out? I see 2 areas of application. One is responding to the challenges that are in your life. What are the pressing needs that are in your face? What are the issues that are confronting you, that are saying, help, help, I need help. I need someone to come and give me a hand. Now, some of them are right in your face and you're not seeing them. For instance, for many of us, we've got to deal with some relationship issues. Maybe we have not forgiven someone, a friend, a coworker, a neighbor, a relative, maybe a spouse, maybe one of our children, maybe our parents. For many of us, the challenge that faces us is dealing with the relationship issue that we're in the midst of right now. And so I would say to you that one of the applications is you need to say, Jesus, this is more than I can handle, but you can. I don't know where I can draw it for me to forgive this person. I don't know where I can find it in my heart to ask for forgiveness from this person. But I'm asking you, God, will you do this miracle? Will you allow me to enter, to build up this relationship? Maybe it's something that's not directly in your home, but right outside your door. Maybe there's a need. It's in your community or nearby. And God is gently encouraging you. You feel it. You need this need. Now, I would say that for those of us, most of us here, including myself, who live in the suburbs, we are able to insulate ourselves from a lot of the hard issues that are in this world. We live in our single detached homes where we have air conditioning and a nice comfortable house, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's wonderful. But the problem comes when we use that and allow it to insulate us from the problems that are right outside our door. What is going on in our communities? Now, here we are in Bluebell or other communities in this area. I know we come from all around. I'm from Abington. Some of you are from North Wales or Fort Washington or other places. But we're only a few clicks from Philadelphia. Just a short drive. 10, 15 minutes and we're in the city. And the needs there are overwhelming. A couple of months ago, a friend of mine invited me to join him at an abortion clinic in Philadelphia, right there in the center city. And so he and I came on a Tuesday morning. It was horrible. It was raining. It was cold. And he and I stood there for almost 3 hours and we just prayed. We just stood outside this clinic and we just prayed. We said, please, God, help these poor women who feel like there's no place for them to go except to kill this child within them. We just prayed. We didn't yell. We didn't call. We didn't confront people. We just stood there and prayed. Well, the clinic, they were nervous about our presence. No sign. I'm not wearing anything that says abortion is murder. Just standing outside the door to this clinic and quietly praying. Please, God, help these ladies. Help these men. Well, they sent out two escorts, two people who they were afraid that I was going to do harm or somehow interfere with the people entering. And so these two people stood right nearby me. I tried to have a conversation with them. They didn't want to talk. And as I stood there for about 2.5 hours in this rainy, yucky, horrible day, more than 100 women came and went in those 2.5 hours. Some of them crying, some of them in obvious pain. It was heartbreaking to watch this. From my little home in Abington, I don't see that. That doesn't happen in my world, okay? That's not something that is visible to me on a regular basis. But standing there that morning, I just said, Lord, what can be done? How can we care? Now, I have a friend, a close friend, John Weiss, one of my best friends. He's a lawyer. He became a lawyer. He was a salesman. He still is a salesman. He became a lawyer because he wanted to fight the abortion problem. He thought, man, this is terrible. Our country is killing itself with this. I'm going to become a lawyer, and I'm going to get into the political system and the legal system, and I'm going to fight this. Well, he started down that road. He graduated from Villanova, got his law degree, passed the bar exam, and he just said, this is nowhere. And he and his wife talked and said, you know what the best thing is we can do? Let's adopt. And so they've adopted 4 children. And that is their response. Let's take a small bite out of this issue. And so as they heard God saying, you feed them, that was how John and Teresa responded. Okay, Lord, our house, our lives, we could adopt children. So eventually took 4 needy children into their home. There are many other issues that face us. I was sharing with our Sunday school class this morning. My 24-year-old daughter is down in Memphis. She is about to complete her master's degree in education, but she's a 3rd grade teacher in Memphis right now in one of the toughest urban schools in that setting. And years ago, God caught her heart. She said, what's happening to urban education? Teachers are running out of the inner city. These schools don't have enough money. These students are coming from very difficult family situations. They are the hardest children to educate, and nobody wants to be there for them. Yes, God, I'll go. And so that's her response. She's an excellent student, top grades, graduated with something like a 3.94. She's got 2 B's in 4 years of college. And her heart is set. I want to care for these other children who are forgotten. I don't know what challenges God's putting before you, what God's putting before me. But we want to say, okay, God, here I am. Send me. And trust him, even though we don't have the resources. We don't have what it takes, but trust him. So that's one level of application. Where is God calling you to feed them, to respond to the need? But there's a second and a far deeper application. And this is where I encourage you, take this home. Out of everything you've heard this morning, this is what I want you to grip on. So if you've been wandering, thinking about this afternoon's basketball game, I'm a big NBA fan, but I'm not thinking about that now. I'm trying not to anyhow. All right? I want you to just join me because I want you to catch this point. So we've looked at John chapter 6 and this wonderful miracle, the feeding of the 5,000. When we jump to the end of John chapter 6, Jesus makes the statement in verse 35. John 6:35. He says, I am the true bread of life. Jesus refers to himself. I am the bread of life. I am the food of life. I am the nourishment of life. I am life itself. Jesus is saying there is no life without me. You can't live without me. You need the bread of life, and I am it. I am the bread of life. In other words, the provider is the provision. Jesus himself is the one who gives himself to us, to you and I, so that we are nourished, so that we can live, so that we have life. He himself is our food. What does that mean for you every day? I don't know. I'm not going to stand up here and prescribe to you what that means, but here's what I do know. You will never find life outside of Jesus. And Jesus is saying, eat, fill, be satisfied, be content. Let all your desires be fulfilled in me. I will meet every single need that you have. You will be satisfied in me. I am the bread of life, and I can fulfill you. Whatever your searching is, wherever you are going to find life, to find fulfillment, to find a sense of, yes, this is life. My dad used to take me camping when I was a little kid. I loved it. Those backpacking trips were some of my favorite times. And he would take me up to the Pocono Mountains, and we would go away to some desolate place. And we would find a campsite right next to a stream, and then we'd put up our tent, and we'd build a fire, and we'd be sitting there by the fire, and I'd be cooking a hot dog in the fire with my dad right beside me. And I remember one time saying to my dad, I'm sitting on a rock out in the woods, I'm 10 years old, and I said, Dad, this is life. I felt so fulfilled, so content, so happy at that time. That just this 10-year-old man just, this is life. Our Heavenly Father is telling you and I that He is the life. That we are satisfied in Him. Every other longing, every other endeavor, if it is not the bread of life, Jesus Himself, it will not satisfy. It may meet a temporary need at best, but only the true bread of life can satisfy. Here's what's the excitement. You and I, all of us here, as a congregation, as the people of God, as the body of Christ, you and I get to go down this road together. You and I get to feast on the bread of life together. We get to fulfill. My wife is worried that you're going to think that I have some social disorder because when we're worshiping together, when we're all singing hymns, I'm always looking around, so maybe you think, he's like, I don't know what his problem is. He's got a social disorder. My wife is very concerned. All it is I love to connect. I want to be with you. So when we're singing these praise songs, when we're singing How Great Thou Art, I want to look at you and say, yeah, man, isn't he great? Of course he is. I want to connect. We get to go on this journey together to feast on the bread of life. That's the excitement. That's the thrill we have. You may find yourself discouraged some days. That's part of what the body of Christ is here for, to remind you the bread of life. Go to the bread of life. Go to Jesus. Let him fulfill you. That's my prayer for all of us. He can feed the entire multitude. He has enough resources to meet every need. Let me pray for us now. Oh.